All Tomorrows is the story of humanity's future, where humans made contact with a highly advanced, godlike alien species. It spans over millions of years, and we see humanity evolve into bizarre creatures, colonize galaxies, and wage wars. The purpose of this video is to explain every different species humans evolved into. So, let's begin. Long ago, in the distant past, Mars was colonized. It took centuries before humans arrived and settled on Mars. Eventually, they developed their own culture and identity, separate from Earth. The low gravity made them tall and spindly, almost resembling a totally new species. After a few centuries, there was a war between these Martians and humans. But in the end, right before wiping each other out, they reunited. The Star People. After the war, Martians and humans of Earth created genetically modified humans called the Star People, so that humanity would expand far beyond Earth and Mars. Within a few centuries, the Star People peacefully colonized the entire solar system and sent automated machines to nearby star systems with genetic material to create humans who would live on these distant worlds. Most of these artificially created humans on other planets died in a mass identity crisis, but those who survived thrived and expanded across galaxy. They did find some alien creatures, but never found any intelligent life forms. Humanity built weapons so advanced they could obliterate stars, but it was all useless when humanity was attacked by the Q. The Q were highly advanced, almost godlike species. These galactic nomads had a fanatic religious mission to remake the universe through genetic manipulation. In short, the Q destroyed human civilization everywhere, but a few human species lived on. They used genetic engineering to change humans into thousands of bizarre subspecies. They turned humans into tools, pets, into wild animals, and ruled over them for 40 million years before disappearing. Worm humans. On a planet with destroyed cities and a scorching sun lived the worms. They were humans, but the Q had modified their hands and feet into tiny, feeble appendages, their eyes into pinpricks, and removed most of their brain. All their lives, they dug aimlessly through the ground. They even ate each other sometimes upon meeting and chose to reproduce at other times. But their humanity would eventually resurface. On another planet were the Titans. Their lower lip was like the trunk of an elephant and could be used like a hand. They were between some of the smartest human species. They built homes, agriculture, literature, and wood carvings. They told myths and legends of the half-remembered past until they were wiped out forever by a severe ice age. On other worlds, humans had been twisted into predators, looking like the vampires and werewolves of myth, with sharp claws and killing teeth. Their prey were also human, made into herbivores with bird-like feet. The prey had the dull minds of animals, but the predators, on the hunt, kept some spark of human intelligence, which would eventually reemerge. The mantelopes were bred to be singers and memory retainers for the Q. So they had fully human minds, they understood the world around them. But in the bodies of grazing herd animals, they were powerless to change anything. The Q stunted their brains and wiped out their intelligence. They never regained sentience, but as a result, they also didn't suffer like the mantelopes did. The lizard herders stayed simple-minded and survived in symbiosis with some herbivorous reptiles, who evolved and grew stronger and smarter. The Q twisted humanity into a variety of aquatic creatures. There were limbless eel people, and whale-like behemoths, and horrifying multitudes of brainless wallowers that served as food stock. Most of them went extinct when the Q left. But the swimmers survived, feeding on fish and crustaceans in their world's oceans. They didn't look very human, but human eyes peered through their blubbery eyelids, and they spoke to each other. Though underwater, they couldn't hear each other's words. The tempters were incredibly strange. The females were giant, plant-like creatures, while the males were small, monkey-like servants controlled by vocal and pheromonal signals. They would mate by descending into this breeding tube. Despite their bizarre form, they thrived until a comet wiped them out. Gruesome giants, the bone crushers, with fused teeth beaks, thrived on rotting flesh. Their communication was unpleasant, involving fecal tossing. Despite this, they built a medieval society, but their bizarre diet ultimately led to their downfall. Colonials. When the Q attacked, one world defied the Q twice before succumbing. As punishment, the Q transformed them into the colonials. They were disembodied cultures of skin, connected with a network of basic nerves. The Q used them as living filtering devices, living off waste products. With cruel irony, the Q preserved their consciousness and eyes, forcing them to witness their agonizing fate for 40 million years. Flyers. The Q made lots of flying human species, some like bats or pterosaurs, others like angels or demons dancing through the ether, or strange ugly creatures that floated on glands full of gas. One species, called the flyers, had a special starfish-shaped heart that processed oxygen so efficiently that they had enough energy to support flight and human-like brains. Other flying species weren't so lucky. The hand flappers had wings that were useless for flying, but also couldn't be used as hands. All they could do was flap about to display their sexual availability, and so they went extinct. Blind folk. Driven underground, some humans escaped, but only briefly. The Q turned them into the blind folk, albino, eyeless troglodytes with bat-like senses. Fungi and fish sustained them, but tectonic shifts ultimately crushed their subterranean world. Lopsiders. The Q's cruel creativity struck again on a high-gravity world. They warped humans into lopsiders, Picasso-esque creatures crawling on 3 hands with an antenna hand and mismatched eyes. Despite their grotesque forms, the lopsiders adapted, domesticating creatures and starting a civilization. Striders. The Ko weren't merciful on moons either. On one, with low gravity, they crafted the striders, impossibly tall, delicate beings dwelling amidst towering trees. However, even minor falls were deadly, and their demise came not from the Q, but from an unlikely foe, chickens that evolved into vicious predators over millennia. Parasites. On another world, where the humans temporarily resisted the Q punished the humans by creating an array of parasites, who were also made from humans. There were tortoise-sized, vampire-like ambulatory parasites, and smaller parasites that lived attached to their hosts. There was even one horrific parasite that infested the wombs of its victims. Most didn't survive, but some of the parasites developed symbioses that benefited their hosts as well as themselves. Fingerfishers lived on a shallow ocean planet dotted with islands. They evolved to catch fish with their long fingers adapted into fishhooks and ate them with long snouts full of needle-sharp teeth. The hedonists, created by the Q to be pampered pets, lived in a paradise of endless pleasure. Their world lacked predators or competition. To control population, they only reproduced after extensive mating. With minds consumed by pleasure, they indulged in eating, sleeping, and uninhibited sex. The insectophagy evolved to consume insects, equipped with claw-like hands for digging, long tongues to scoop up bugs, and leathery faces to shield from bites, living unobtrusive lives on their obscure world. Some humans escaped the Q's attack by living inside hollowed-out asteroids in space. They adapted to zero gravity with long limbs and specialized digestive systems, using gas expulsion for movement. These spacers became so transformed that returning to planets with gravity was impossible, but they were content in their weightless existence, indifferent to their kin on planetary surfaces. The snake people, with spiral brains and adapted hands, dwelled in vast tunnel cities. They cherished literature and music, experiencing human-like emotions in their daily lives, despite their alien appearance. The predators evolved into the killer folk, with deadly claws now grasping hands and saber teeth used for social display. Their society centered on hunting and violence, leading to a history filled with war. While some embraced factory farming for a peaceful future, conservative factions clung to traditional ways. Tensions rose, nearly leading to global conflict, but the killer folk ultimately reconciled, avoiding catastrophe. Underwater, the swimmers couldn't make fire, so they developed a unique technology, breeding tools and machines. Tool breeders domesticated sea creatures, building cities powered by organic life. They utilized creatures for everything, from power to illumination and weaponry. With genetic mastery, they expanded to conquer not only oceans, but also small land masses. Their ambitions reached beyond, growing living spaceships to explore the stars. Saurosapiens. The lizard herdiers, despite lacking sentience, facilitated the rise of lizard civilizations. Influenced by the ruins of the Star People, they developed human-like cultural identities. Fearing the return of the Q, they realized the fate they might suffer. Modular people. Initially a wretched mass, the colonials evolved into differentiated colonies, competing for resources. The victorious modular people formed an intelligent colony, achieving a utopian existence where billions lived harmoniously as interchangeable parts of a unified organism. Pterosapiens, the flyers diversified into various species, including intelligent ones like storks with articulate hands. Their global mindset fostered an egalitarian society characterized by rapid idea exchange and technological advancements. Despite their thriving civilization, their bodies struggled to support their evolved brains and power of flight, leading to early mortality. Asymmetric people. The Lopsiders, in a high-gravity world, built an advanced civilization and developed spaceflight to escape. They engineered the asymmetric people to adapt to low gravity on new worlds. However, the asymmetric people turned against their creators, exterminating them and exploring the cosmos alone. Symbiotes. Parasites and hosts evolved symbiotic relationships, with parasites providing defense and hosts offering sustenance. Over time, hosts became puppets controlled by parasites, eventually replaced by parasite technology. Yet, hosts remained for tradition and convenience, with symbiotes seamlessly transitioning between hosts for different purposes. Sail people. From a world of isolated islands emerged the sail people, whose evolved sails propelled them across oceans. Their tongues split to become hands, and intelligence developed to navigate their diverse and competitive world. After generations of conflict, they unified their society, bringing peace to their blood-stained oceans. Satyriacs. Following the demise of the hedonists, the surviving Satyriacs built an advanced civilization. Their genes retained traces of hedonism, leading to societies embracing pleasure-seeking and promiscuity. Festivals and orgies became commonplace in their self-aware society as they savored the pleasures of existence. Bug-facers. The insectophagi evolved to resemble their prey, building a civilization threatened by unknown aliens. Wars on the ground and in orbit ensued, leaving bug-facers with a xenophobic fear of other species. When humans reached out to the galaxy, the bug-facers withdrew, haunted by their traumatic conflict with alien invaders. The spacers became even more alien in the void of space. Their fingers extended and split into tiny grasping limbs. Their legs atrophied, using their farts to move instead. And in the weightless void of space, their brains expanded, till their every thought was far more vast and complex than anything other humans could conceive. These asteromorphs spread to every star system in the galaxy, but they didn't interfere with the other species. The asteromorphs had no need for planets, those ugly balls of dirt and ice and gravity. They stayed in the outer rims of star systems, silently watching over the galaxy like strange alien gods. Advanced post-human species began making contact, forming an alliance to share knowledge and technology and guard against alien invasions. For almost 80 million years, they thrived together, expanding to new worlds. The bug-facers and the ruin haunters, however, remained aloof. The downfall of this alliance stemmed from the ruin haunters, who, refusing to join, faced extinction from their expanding sun. Gravitals. The ruin haunters transformed into gravitals, mechanical spheres with human minds, capable of manipulating gravity fields. Twisted by ambition and hubris, they embarked on a campaign to exterminate all other life forms. Despite efforts from other human species, the gravitals proved unstoppable. They darkened suns and, if resisted, obliterated planets with asteroids. Indifferent to other species' existence, they annihilated advanced civilizations one by one, including the snake people, tool breeders, pterosapiens, and others. The bug-facers, shy and xenophobic, were the sole survivors of the Gravitals genocidal campaign. Kept alive for experimentation, they were twisted into bizarre forms for the Gravitals' amusement. While some gravitals saw life as disposable, others argued for the rights of all forms of life. They secretly created free-thinking human species, leading to a divide within gravital society. Seeking unity, the gravitals initiated a war with the asteromorphs, resulting in a conflict that spanned millions of years. Ultimately, the asteromorphs emerged victorious, toppling the machine empire. They restored habitable worlds for surviving humans and seeded life across the galaxy, ensuring a future without genocidal threats under their watchful eye. The asteromorphs created the terrestrials, smaller versions of themselves, to oversee human worlds as rulers, prophets, and caretakers. While some terrestrials governed wisely, others abused their power, leading to rebellions that the asteromorphs sometimes quashed with destruction. Despite challenges, the human worlds flourished, forming a prosperous galactic empire. The gravitals, though not entirely destroyed, were repurposed by the asteromorphs as laborers, their gravity weapons disabled to prevent rebellion. New machines. These new machines were given nanotechnological bodies that could transform into any shape. They eventually became citizens of the empire, but were often discriminated against. Machines were never fully trusted after the gravitals' atrocities. The human astromorph empire encountered life from other galaxies, including the amphicephali, creatures with snakes within snakes. Despite their peculiar appearance, they had an evolutionary history, as long and complex as humanity's. After enduring their own trials, both galaxies' life forms matured enough to meet peacefully, marking a harmonious encounter without conflict. In the end, Q are defeated, and Earth is rediscovered. After 500 million years of absence, humans return to their homeworld, changed beyond recognition.